Sorry sekejap Kita punya kelas ni sekejap saya tengok. You all boleh check juga tepi akademik ni sebab untuk you all punya Okey, kita punya peperiksaan akhir peperiksaan akhir semester 2 11 Julai hingga 24 Julai. Okey. So kita punya sekejap saya kena check balik ni. Semester 2 21 Mac hingga 8 Mei, 7 minggu. Lepas tu kuliah sebahagian 2 16 Mei hingga 3 Julai. Betul lah. Maknanya jika 16 Mei hingga 3 Julai. So minggu depan kalau ikutkan sebab saya tengok balik. Saya rasa macam betul lah sebab you all punya minggu ulang kaji 4 Julai hingga 10 Julai. Kita kena check balik masa ni. Jadi senang kita nak framekan masa kita. Okey. Dengan saya ni ada kalender. Sekejap saya check kalender. Sebenarnya kalau minggu ulang kaji tu pun sebenarnya kalau ikutkan buat pembentangan pun boleh. Tapi saya tak mau ganggu lah. Okey. Kalau betul minggu depan 20. So sebenarnya kita boleh present 27, 28, 29, 30. Tengok. 31. 1, 2, 3. Oh, kita boleh present 27 hari bulan. Bukan 20. Okey. So minggu depan baru minggu 13. Bukan minggu 14. Minggu 13, minggu 1 lagi baru minggu 14. You all okay tak kalau present 27 hari bulan? Dengar tak suara saya?
Dengar je, okey.
Okey tuan, okey ya? Ni ada yang balas ni, okey tuan. So saya rasa nanti sekejap lagi saya akan ubah balik. Saya tak letak 20 lah. Saya takut you all kelang kabut pula ni. Tengah-tengah seminggu tiba-tiba tak buat lagi video. So 27 untuk section 3 dengan 1 presentation. Nanti saya akan buat jadual lah. Jadual pembentangan tu you all sesi pagi lah. Betul section 1 dia sesi petang 27 bulan. Okey. So kita ambil masa dalam 15 ke 20 minit untuk presentation 1 kumpulan. Tak banyak pun, kita ada 3 kumpulan je. Ada 6 kumpulan 3 kumpulan, 3 section. Ni korang ada 6 kumpulan. So minggu depan just boleh bagi interaction je lah dengan saya. Apa benda yang you all buat sebelum nak buat presentation. Itu je lah. So minggu ni kita masih ada masa minggu 12 baru. Okey. Minggu depan baru 13. Saya tengok balik takwim ni memang kita start 4 Julai. 4 Julai tu minggu ke-15 lah. 4 Julai minggu ke-16. Minggu ke-16 bukan minggu 14. Kalau dari segi susunan ni minggu 16. Tapi kalau minggu dari susunan kita minggu kelas, kita 14 minggu sebab minggu ke-9 tu kita cuti. Okey. So okey lah ni 4 Julai kita buat 27 lah. 27. Sekejap saya adjust sikit. Nanti saya adjust 27. Dekat projek IT ni due date dia edit. Kita pergi ke 27. Sekejap edit 27. Okey. 27 Jun. Saya dah edit balik. Okey, so 27 Jun. Section 3 dengan section 1 pun sama. Okey, tak apa. Nanti section 1 saya akan adjust balik. Section 1 pun sama, 27. Kalau ikutkan 20 tu baru saya perasan ada projek video edit. 20 ada yang dah buat tau. Tapi dia belum siap lah, dia orang bagi report dulu. Okey. Okey, sekejap. Ini ni. Dia baru masuk ni hari ni. Okey. So saya dah ajar 27 bulan. So okey lah. Jadi tak rushing lah. So group satu lagi 28 bulan. Ngam-ngam habis PKP 3.02 lah. Kan? Kita sekarang ni dah masuk PKP yang keberapa dah? Saya tak tahulah ni. Agak-agak baik lah semua kan. Asyik tak boleh keluar pun kita lama-lama pun pening juga kan. Duduk rumah je kan. Okey. Tapi kalau keluar pun bahaya juga kalau masing-masing sakit. Kan? Tapi itulah. Kita buat sekarang ni kita ikut je lah apa saranan daripada pihak kerajaan kan. Okey. Sebab kita pun kalau kita langgar SOP pun ada masalah juga. Okey, kalau kita langgar SOP tu kita yalah ada kos-kos bayaran saman. Okey, so jangan sampai disaman lah. Okey. Okey, so hari ni kita akan masuk chapter terakhir lah. Okey. Tidaklah sebab soalan saya kalau untuk final exam ni soalan dah ni pun banyak pada apa ni just you all nak bagi idea je, bagi idea berdasarkan pemahaman kan. Jadi dia tak ada terlalu rumit sangat. Okey. So chapter 7 ni mengenai CPU structure and function. So kita dah belajar dalam minggu yang lab yang ketiga tu dah ada. Okey. Just kita sebab saya dah combine kan masa sebab kita pun semester ni banyak cuti dan banyak terlibat dengan pelbagai program raya lah macam-macam lah. Okey, bercuti okey. So tak apa, kita memang kelas kita tetap jalan seperti biasa. Kita combine kan ya, Google Classroom dengan Google Meet ni. You all dah start isi Spark ke? Dah mula isi Spark? Apa ni maklumat apa?
Belum
Khusus, Oh belum isi dah bagus Untuk kelas kita ni pagi lah maksimum sekali kelas kita ni. Kan? Pagi yang terbaik. Okey. Tak apa nanti you all isi lah. Saya pun belum dapat lagi maklumat tentang pengisian Spark ni. Dia ada Spark ni you all isi lah. Okey. Okey, so saya rasa untuk semester ni dah tinggal ni je projek dengan final exam je. Okey. Yang lain tu dah selesai dah. Okey, dah tak ada apa dah. Okey, sikit-sikit je. You all lengkapkan je lah. Okey. Untuk tugasan-tugasan lab ke apa tu masukkan je lah, lengkapkan je. Okey. Yang mana saya boleh bantu nanti saya bantulah. Okey. Kita nanti sebab kita pun dalam kekangan jauh kan. Saya punya perancangan ni memang hasratnya memang nak berjumpa dengan you all lah untuk semester ni. Saya jangka waktu presentation nanti at least 2 minggu terakhir tu sebelum 2-3 minggu terakhir sebelum tu memang saya jangka saya akan jumpa you all. Saya ingat you all boleh balik. Saya pun boleh masuk office. Lala saya pun tergendala lah apa kita boleh buat kan. Sebab kita macam okey. Selebihnya ini semua Allah Ta'ala kan, Tuhan kita yang izinkan untuk jadi macam ni. Kalau tak diizinkan mungkin tak jadilah macam ni. Kita terima je lah. Okey, dengan hati yang terbuka. Cuma dari segi langkah berjaga-jaga tu kita kena sentiasa lah kan. Okey. So kita masuk sikit. Okey. Ini kita akan tahu sikit mengenai pipeline. Okey. So kita akan tengok processor organization, instruction cycle, instruction pipeline. Okey. Ramai lagi ni yang belum masuk tapi tak apalah, nanti diorang sebab nota ni saya dah masukkan dalam author. Kalau dalam author tu you all tengok, ada dah semua nota ni saya dah masukkan. Okey. Jadi kalau baca pun boleh faham sebab nanti kalau tengok video link daripada Google Classroom yang saya minta kamu komen sikit, itu lagi lebih faham lah. Okey. Okey, kita ada 5 yang utama dalam processing fetch data, process data dan write data. Okey. Cuma Dia hanya sambungan sedikit lah, sambungan lah daripada apa yang kita belajar sebelum ni. Okey, so ini adalah CPU with system bus yang mana kita dah belajar pada awal. Bab 2 ke bab 3. Okey. So dia ada ALU, ada register, ada control unit, okey, ada control bus. Okey, ada sistem bus, maknanya dia punya laluan lah. Okey. Cuma kalau kita nak kena faham lah dalam sistem komputer ni dia ada memang ada kombinasi dan hubung kait antara satu sama lain. Dia tidak boleh terpisah. Jadi antara sistem data, antara ALU, ada control unit, ada register, dia mesti berhubung kait. Kalau ada satu yang tak sempurna dia akan pincang tugas. Itu aja. Senang saja nak faham. Kalau dia tak sempurna dia akan pincang tugas. So di sini kita ada internal structure of CPU. Okey. Kita ada arithmetic dan logic unit. Okey. Kita ada status flag, kita ada shifter, ada complementer, ada arithmetic and boolean logic. Okey, ada internal CPU bus, ada register, ada control unit, ada control pad. Yang ini dari segi dia punya gambaran dan hubung kait antara structure arithmetic logic unit, internal CPU bus, register dan control unit dan control pad. Okey. Ini so dia ada hubung kait. Kalau you tengok semua berkomunikasi antara satu sama lain lah. Okey. Cuma dari segi dia punya susunan penyampaian sistem tu, dia ada dia punya hierarki dia sendiri lah. Okey, susunan dia sendiri. Dia tak boleh lah kalau status flag tu terus pergi ke register. Dia mesti melalui internal CPU bus dulu. Pada internal CPU bus baru dia pergi ke register. Okey, tapi dia masih berhubung kait lah. Kalau tak ada control unit, pincang tugas. Okey, tak ada register, pincang tugas. Maknanya satu sistem yang rosak dia akan membuatkan pincang tugas. So register organisation. Dalam chapter 3 kita ada belajar sikit mengenai system employ dan memory hierarchy. Higher level of hierarchy memory is faster, smaller and more expensive, mahal lah. Okay. Within the processor, there is a set of register that function as memory at the level of above main memory and cache in the hierarchy. Okay. The register in the processor perform two roles. Okay. Ni ada masuk lagi Hakimi. Okay. Yang lambat tu masuk je lah, tak apa. Okay. Biasalah kalau kat rumah ni saya pun faham. Kadang-kadang macam-macam buat kerja lain lah. Okay, tapi tak apa. You all masuk je. Okay. Sebab kita online ni, saya punya sistem belajar online ni, kalau you all tak dapat belajar sekarang, dapat masuk kelas sekejap, petang sikit lagi dapat study balik, malam dapat cross-line idea video-video ataupun data-data daripada internet, lebih baik. Sebab itu memang kita dalam universiti memang macam tu. Lagi-lagi macam saya kan buat research untuk PhD, mana ada pesarah yang mengajar. Adalah sikit-sikit, yang lain tu kita punya effort sendiri. Tapi tak apalah. Okey. Itulah konsep belajar sekarang ni, sebab lagi-lagi duduk kat rumah masing-masing. Okey. Alright, seterusnya user visible register. Enable the machine or assembly language programmer to minimize main memory reference by optimizing use of register. Control and status register use the control unit to control the operation of the processor and by privileged operating system program to control the execution of program. Okay. Right. Okay, seterusnya user visible register. A user visible register can be categorized as below. Okay, general purpose. Okay, tujuan umum. Data, alamat, address and condition code. Okay, user visible register, remember, sometimes used within the instruction set. Any general purpose register cannot contain the operand for any opcode. Sometimes general purpose register use also have restriction. For example, there may be dedicated register for floating point and stack operation. Okay. General purpose register increase flexibility and programmer option. Okay. Increase instruction size and complexity addressing. Special purpose register less flexibility address implicit in opcode. Smaller, faster but more instruction. Okay, data register used to hold data cannot be employed in the calculation of an operand address. Address register can be general purpose or a particular addressing code, a mode. Example, stack pointer. If there is user visible stack addressing, then typically there is a dedicated register that point to the top of the stack. This allow implicit addressing that is push, pop, and other stack instruction need to not contain an explicit stack operand. Dari segi condition code bits set by the processor hardware as the result of operation. Example, an arithmetic operation may produce a positive, negative, zero of overflow result, where the result itself being stored in a register of memory or memory. Condition code is also a set. Condition code bits are collected into one or more register. Usually, they form part of a control register. Control and status register. There are a variety of processor register that are employed to control the operation of the processor. Most of them are not visible to the user in a control or operating system mode. For register are essential to instruction execution. Kita ada 4 program counter PC, instruction register IR. Ini dari segi dia punya ni lah ringkasan. Memory address register MAR, memory buffer register MBR. Okay. Okay, sekejap. Seterusnya kita ada kita dah masuk sini. Okay. Many processor design include a register or set of register known as the program status word, okay, ataupun PSW lah, program status word PSW, that contains status information. The program status word typically contain condition code plus the status information. Common field of flags include the following: satu sign, 0, second 0, third carry, okay, 4 equal, 5 overflow, 6 interrupt, and 7 supervisor. Okay, ini ada 7 lah. Common field lah, maknanya biasa yang kita gunakan lah. Okay, alright, dalam program status word ni. So dalam instruction cycle, ini pun saya ingat dah ada saya buat keterangan pada minggu kedua. Kita just remind sikit lah. Okay. Kita ada start, ada fetch cycle, execute cycle, interrupt cycle. Kita ada fetch net instruction, execute instruction, check for interrupt, process interrupt, kita ada hard. Okay, interrupt disable hard ni dia bukan berhenti mati, dia macam berhenti tapi boleh dihidupkan balik. Okay, bukan rosak, berhenti rosak macam komputer lah. Kita switch on balik, dia akan hidup balik. Dan ataupun seperti electrical. Melainkanlah kita punya peralatan tu rosak. Peralatan rosak kalau dalam komputer sistem software hilang. Ataupun pincang tugas, dia akan jadi interrupt lah. Okay. First, read the next instruction from memory into the processor. Execute, interpret the opcode and perform the indicate operation. Okay, if interrupt are enabled and interrupt has occurred, save the current process state and service the interrupt. Okay, instruction cycle. In chapter 2, we are introduced with basic instruction cycle. Then in chapter 4, we discussing about input-output interrupt. So interrupt will be added in basic instruction cycle. In the interrupt cycle, the processor check to see if any interrupt have occurred, indicated by the presence of an interrupt signal. If no interrupt are pending, the processor proceed to the fetch cycle and fetch the next instruction of the current program. Inilah in the indirect cycle. Okay, so ini dia punya gambar rajah yang mana kita boleh faham. Okay, tapi semua berhubung kait lah. Okay, kita ada execute in the ada fetch indirect, ada execute, ada interrupt, okay, ada fetch dengan execute ni dia pergi balik lah. Okay, dan lain tu dia pusing. Okay. Right. Instruction cycle. Execution of an instruction may involve one or more operand in memory, each of which require a memory access. If indirect addressing is used, then additional memory access are required. A main line of activity consists of alternating instruction fetch and instruction execution activity. After an instruction is fetched, it is examined to determine if any indirect addressing is involved. If yes, the required operand are fetched using indirect addressing. Following execution and interrupt may be processed before the next instruction fetch. Okay. So ini adalah dari segi data flow fetch cycle mana kita lihat. Okay, kita ada CPU. CPU ada seperti tadi ada PC, ada IR, ada MAR, ada control unit, ada MBR. Ini MBR ni yang seperti saya maklum tadi lah. Ringkasan kepada atas ni tadi. Okay, program counter, instruction register, memory address register, memory buffer register. Okay. So inilah dia. Okay, ringkasan dia. Okay, so dia ada hubung kait antara memory dengan address bus, ada data bus dan control bus. So dia ada hubung kait lah. Dan dalam address bus, data bus dan control bus ni juga disebut sebagai system bus. Okay. Okay. Alright. Tadi instruction cycle yang pertama, ini yang kedua. Okay, kita ada MAR, control unit MAR. Okay. So ini adalah CPU. Okay, dikecilkan sikit. Dia asingkan antara PC dan IR lah. Okay. Jasanya ada MAR, control unit dan MAR. Okay, masih berfungsi data flow indirect cycle. Juga disebut sebagai indirect cycle. Ini disebut sebagai data flow fetch cycle. Yang pertama tadi fetch cycle, yang kedua indirect cycle. Okay. Yang ketiga ada data flow interrupt cycle, just PC, MAR, control unit, MAR dan memory, ada system bus. Okay, kita tengok bawah ni. Kita lebih faham. Okay. Dalam seterusnya kita ada instruction of pipelining. Pipelining ni dia sangat penting juga. Dan ada salah satu benda yang perlu diselaraskan bagi menghasilkan satu gerak kerja yang baik dan sempurna dan tidak mengganggu sistem ataupun tidak membuat satu pincang tugas. Okay. Sistem pipelining ni dia kalau dari segi sistem perkilangan, sistem pipelining ni sangat diperlukan lah. Lagi dalam bentuk mass production yang besar. Okay. So dia akan kontrol banyak perkara dalam gerak laku kerja dalam sesebuah industri perkilangan. Okay. So instruction pipeline is similar to the use of assembly line in a manufacturing plant. An assembly line take advantage of the fact that product goes through various stages of production. By laying the production process out in assembly line, product at various stages can be worked off simultaneously. Okay, this process is also referred to a pipelining. In a pipeline, new input are accepted at one and before previously accept input appear as output at the other end. Okay. Okay, to apply this concept to instruction execution, we must recognize that in fact instruction has a number of stages. Consider divide instruction processing into two stages. For instruction and execute instruction, there are times during the execution of an instruction when memory is not being accessed. This time could be used to fetch the next instruction in parallel with the execution of the current one. Okay, so ini instruction pipelining. Okay, dari instruction ada different instruction execute result. Ini simplified view lah, maknanya kita boleh tengok dari segi ringkasannya lah. Okay, expand view pula. Okay, kalau kita tengok, okay, instruction fetch ni dia ada masa menunggu. Okay, dia akan beri satu alamat new address instruction. Execute, dia akan keluarkan satu lagi result. Expand view, maknanya dia ada masa yang lama sikit lah. Itu disebut sebagai expand view. Kalau segi simplified view ni dari segi A lah. Okay. However, if we look more closely at the pipelining in figure, we will see that its doubling of execution rate is unlikely for two reasons. The execution time will generally be longer than the first time. Execution will involve reading and storing operand and the performance of some operation. Thus, the first test may have to wait for some time before it can empty its buffer. A conditional branch instruction makes the address of the next instruction to be first unknown. Thus, the first test must wait until it receives the next instruction address from the execute stage. The execute stage may then have to wait while the next instruction is fetched. Okay. Okay, jap. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay, jap okay. 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 Seterusnya, okay, instruction pipelining. To gain further speed up, the pipelining must have more stage. Let us consider the following decomposition of the instruction processing. Kita ada fetch instruction FI, decode instruction DI, calculate operand CO, fetch operation fetch operand FO, execute of instruction EI, write operand WO. Okay. Ini dari segi susunan, sebab nanti kita akan tengok video macam mana dia ada satu kiraan dia. Tapi it's okay. Ini untuk kita just simple ya untuk faham. Okay. So dari segi susunan dia, kita faham ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Ini 6 ni akan dimasukkan ke dalam instruction 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Instruction 2 dia akan duduk di nombor 2. Seterusnya sehinggalah kalau 9 duduk di 9 lah. Tapi dia punya fungsi dia dari segi susunan dia punya gerak kerja adalah sama. Okay. With this decomposition, the various stages will be of more nearly equal duration. Let us assume equal duration for each stage. Okay, using the assumption a stage pipeline is a construct, it can reduce the execution time for a next instruction from 54 time unit to 14 time unit. Okay, the diagram in figure 7.9. Okay, assume that instruction goes through all 6 stages of the pipeline. Okay, inilah figure dia. Okay, dia pergi ke semua ni. Kita tengok. Okay, dia punya susunan. Okay. How is not necessary to instruction to execute all stage. For example, a load instruction does not need the WO stage. However, to simplify the pipeline hardware, the timer is set up assuming that each instruction requires all stage. Also, the diagram assumes that all of stage can be performed in parallel. Okay, in particular, it is assumed that there are no memory conflict. For example, the FI, FO, and WO stage involve a memory access. The diagram implies that all the access can occur simultaneously. Most memory systems will not permit that. However, the desire value may be in cache of the FO or WO stage may be null. Thus, much of a time, memory conflict will not slow down the pipeline. Okay. Ini dia ada ubah sikit. Okay. The effect of conditional branch on instruction pipeline on pipeline operation on. Okay. Tadi dia ada, kalau you tengok tadi dia tersusun. Okay. Timing diagram. Okay. Ini the effect of conditional branch on instruction pipeline operation on apabila dia berjalan bergerak. Okay. Dia ada perubahan. Okay. Tapi kalau tengok you tengok susunan ni pun dah berbeza ni. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15, 16. Dia seterusnya lah. Okay. If the 6 states are not equal duration, there will be some waiting involved at various pipeline stage. Another difficulty is the conditional branch instruction, which can invalidate several instruction fetch. A similar unpredictable event is an interrupt. Rujuk kepada figure 7.0 tadi lah. Assume the instruction tree is a conditional branch to instruction 50. Okay. Until the instruction is executed, there is no way of knowing which instruction will come next. Okay. Bila kita dah berhenti, dia ada lain lagi. Okay, berubah. The pipeline is example, simply load the next instruction in sequence instruction and proceed. The figure considered be the branch is taken due conditional branch. It's not determined until the end of time unit 7. At the time, the pipeline must be clear of instructions that are not useful. During the time unit 8, instruction 15 enter the pipeline. No instruction complete during time unit 9 stroke 2 death. Okay, this is the performance penalty incurred because we could not anticipate the branch. Okay. Ini ada alternative pipeline depiction. Okay. Maknanya dari segi susunan lah. Okay. Okay. Dia ada berubah-ubah. Cuma dari segi kalau kita tengok no branch dengan with conditional branch, dia ada berbeza lah. Dia punya susunan tu. Okay. Kalau no branch ni lebih teratur. Kalau kita tengok dari segi nombor 1 sampai nombor 9 tu, susunan dia okey je. Gerak kerja je 11, 11, 11. 1, F1 11, 2, FO 11, 11, 11, 11. Cuma bila dia dah masuk dalam with conditional, dia dah berbeza. Okay, start daripada 8 tu kita tengok dia dah berubah. Okay. Cuma ini dari segi dia punya struktur sistem pipeline tu bekerja lah. Okay. Right. Okay, figure 17 on same sequence of event. Dia ada same sequence, maknanya dia tersusun lah. With time progressing vertically down the figure. It shows showing that the state of the pipeline given point in time. Dia ada masa dia, okay. In figure, the pipeline is null at time C. We see a reference instruction in various states of execution and remain full through time 9, okay. We assume that instruction, okay, that is the last instruction to the execute. Maknanya kita jangka yang ke-19 tu dia dah yang ke-9, okay. Yang ke-19, okay, 9 tu yang terakhir lah dia cakap situ. Okay, 19, okay, ni 19. Okay, sorry. Instruction 19 is the last instruction to be executed. Okay. In figure 17, okay, the pipeline is full and time 6 and 7. At the time instruction 3 in the execute state execute a branch to instruction 15. At the point instruction 14 through 17 are flushed from the pipeline. So that at time 8, only 2 instructions are in the pipeline, 13 and 15. Okay. Okay. 15 115 bukan 15, 115. Okay. Alright. Okay. 115. Okay, so that time only 2 instructions are the pipeline, 13 and 115. Okay. Instruction pipelining. Okay. Ini dari segi dia punya susunan lah. Kita ada instruction D1 decode instruction F1 tu. Ada fetch lah. Okay. Okay. Instruction D1 decode instruction CO calculate operand. Kita ada okay, unconditional branch. Kita ada update PC. Okay. Saya besarkan sikit lah. Okay. Okay, kita ada fetch operand. Kita ada execute or instruction. Ada write operand. Ada branch or interrupt. Kita ada update PC dan empty pipe. Okay, kita letak dia di okay, sekejap Okay, unconditional branch. Okay, right. Ini dari segi dia punya ni lah. Sorry. Saya kena besarkan sebab komputer saya ni pun kalau kecil sangat pun tak nampak. Okay, ini yes ni. Okay. Atas tu bukan tu, itu fetch tu. Okay. Instruction kita pun nanti ditukar balik. Okay. All of previous discussion can be summarized in figure 7.12. Okay. Sorry. Ini kita dah bincang tadi. Ini dari figure. Okay. All of previous discussion can be summarized in figure 7.12. Figure 7.12 also indicate the logic need for pipelining to account for branch and interrupt. Okay. The CO stage may depend on the content of a register that could be altered by a previous instruction that is still in the pipeline. Other such register and memory conflict could occur. The system must contain logic to account for this type of conflict. Itu saja untuk note kita hari ini. Cuma lagi kita tengok sikit lah video untuk kita lebih clear dan faham lah. Itu tapi saya minta you all komen sikit mengenai pipeline ni. Simple lah, simple. Okay. Kita tengok konsep dan introduction tentang pipeline. Dia bagaimana konsep dia sebenarnya. Kalau kita tengok je notanya tak faham, bukan tak faham, kurang sempurna. Okay. Saya share. Tapi saya dah ada masuk tu kita dalam kita punya kita punya saya dah masukkan dalam kita punya Google Classroom. Cuma nanti you all nak kena bagi komen sikit lah. Okay. Berdasarkan video tu untuk kelas lab lah. Itu je. Lepas tu you sambung kerja-kerja yang tertangguh, buat projek lah. Sebab saya difahamkan ada buat projek video tak sampai 4 minit. Saya dah tengok juga ada yang dah hantar. Tapi tak apalah. Kita ada masa lagi kan. Jadi saya bagi masa lagi lah untuk, sebab semester lepas saya bagi video saya, video semester ni lebih menarik lah dan lebih lebih impresif lah. Okay. Untuk kita lihat kan. Okay, sebab masuk dalam YouTube. Okay. Okay, kita tengok sikit konseptual aja. Okay, lepas tu nanti kita sambung balik dalam Google Classroom. You buat komen berdasarkan nota, berdasarkan apa yang you faham lah. Okay. Cuma nanti dah selesai, kalau you all ada buat pembincangan mengenai group projek, boleh bincang. Saya benarkan untuk projek lab ni, kita lab ni untuk bincang projek sekali, buat kerja projek. Nak buat laporan ke apa ke, kena buat lah. Okay. Nanti kan takut tak siap pula laporan ni. Macam-macam kamu punya kerja kan buat lah. Ada masa. Okay, kita tengok dari segi, saya ni suka tengok konseptual lah. Okay, simple lah.
The goal of this video is to briefly explain the high-level idea of pipeline. To do that, we're going to start with a motivating question. Imagine you're doing laundry, and you have a washer which takes 30 minutes to wash one load of laundry. You have a dryer which takes 40 minutes, and you can fold the laundry in about 20 minutes. It'll take 90 minutes to wash, dry, and fold one load of laundry. How long will it take to do 4 loads? Well, if we do it naively and do each load to completion before starting the next load, it's going to take 90 minutes times 4, or 6 hours. But that's not the way people do laundry. Typically, what's done is after the first load of laundry is done in the washer, we'll move it to the dryer and start the second load in the washer. Then, when the first load's done being dried, we can start folding it after we've moved the second load into the dryer and put the third load into the washer. This process is called pipelining. And when we pipeline laundry in this way, we can complete the same 4 loads which sequentially took 6 hours in only 3.5 hours. We can draw a number of important lessons about pipelining from this simple example. First, that the key idea of pipelining is that we're breaking one task, that is doing a load of laundry, into a collection of subtasks, washing the load, drying the load, and folding it, and assigning each of these to their own resource, the washer, the dryer, and the person. You'll note that pipelining doesn't improve the latency of doing any load of laundry, that each load of laundry is still taking at least 90 minutes. The key benefit of pipelining is that it helps throughput, that we're able to do a number of loads of laundry in less time than it would take if we had done them sequentially. When we pipeline, our performance benefit is going to be limited by the slowest pipeline stage. In this case, the wash and the dryer. The dryer takes 40 minutes, whereas the washer only takes 30, and the folding only takes 20 minutes. And so, if we had an infinite number of loads of laundry, we would still only complete one every 40 minutes because the wash dryer is our rate limiting step. Our potential speed up in an ideal case is equal to the number of pipeline stages. That because we have 3 pipeline stages, we could, in an ideal case, run 3 times as fast. But there's 2 reasons that we typically don't reach this ideal. First is, if the pipeline stages are unbalanced, as they are in this example, that because the washer takes more time than, because the dryer takes more time than the washer, or folding, these resources, the washer and the person folding, are left idle much of the time, and that's going to eat into our speed up. Furthermore, if we don't have very many items to work on, there's a time to fill the pipeline, this first 70 minutes, in which we're not using all of the resources. That only after 70 minutes are we using all of our resources. And then at the end, there's a time to drain the pipeline, where again we aren't using all of our resources. And this also is going to reduce our speed up. So let's briefly look at how we're going to apply this idea of pipelining to processes. What I've shown here is the data path for the single cycle MIPS processor that we discussed in lecture. And I'm ignoring the branch circuit for the moment. So let's look at how a load instruction moves through this machine. The first step the load does is instruction fetch. That we take the program counter value and read the instruction out. Once we've done that, we can do the instruction code step, which takes that instruction and uses it to read the source register out of the register file. Using that source register value as well as the immediate coded in the instruction, we can compute the effective address in the execute step. Once we've done this, we can access the memory in the memory stage and read the value out of memory. In the final stage, called write back, we can take that memory value and move it into the register file through the register write code. If you look at what's happening over time, that during our clock period, each execution step is using a different part of our machine. That only at the very beginning of the cycle are we accessing the instruction memory. And then it's sitting idle for most of the cycle until the beginning of the next cycle, when we again read the instruction out of the instruction memory. Similarly, the register file reports, we're only using for a short period after we receive the instruction, and then we don't use it for the rest of the cycle. So this is true for all of our hardware. And so we end up having a lot of hardware that's sitting around not doing anything for much of our clock period. So what we'd like to do is put that hardware to work. That when an instruction is done reading the instruction memory, that we've received the instruction out of the instruction memory, starting to access the register file, this instruction memory is now being idle. What we'd like to do is begin fetching a second instruction at that point. And similarly, when this first instruction is done reading the register file and it's moved on to the execution stage, and the second instruction would read the register file, we're going to go ahead and start fetching a third instruction, so on and so forth. So what we propose doing is actually breaking our machine into 5 pieces, these 5 stages I just described, and pipelining our machine into these 5 stages. So we'll have an instruction fetch stage, an instruction decode stage, an execute stage, a memory stage, and a write back stage. And we'll be able to support 5 instructions executing in the machine in parallel, one in each of these stages. And you'll note, again, as a key property of pipelining, is that each stage has its own resources. The instruction memory is part of the instruction fetch stage, so on and so forth.
Okey, itu adalah sedikit video yang ada dekat dalam online telah saya kongsikan. Okey. So nanti untuk video-video yang seterusnya kena ni you all akan kita ambil sikit lah, kita tengok satu lagi. Lepas tu nanti you all boleh tengok lagi. Untuk buat sedikit komen.
Let's take an example of unpipelined car factory. Here every workers are working on the same car and after 24 hours one car is on road. That means throughput is 1 car per 24 hours. Now here is the pipeline model of same car factory. Here workers are classified to 3 teams. Team A is working on engine and then Team B works on body and at last Team C working on paint. That means one after other. As soon as Team A finished working first car, they start working on engine of second car. Means, simultaneously 2 cars are on make. After second car, Team A moves to the third car. In this stage, same time, 3 cars are being produced. Here throughput is 1 car per 8 hours. After a stage, 1 car will be on road at every 8 hours. Now let's see how pipeline idea is implemented in computer. There are 3 stages in which an instruction pass on: fetch, decode, and execute. In an unpipelined computer, 1 instruction is proceed at a time and, after completing fetching, decoding, and execution of that instruction, computer moves to another instruction. That means, only 1 instruction is processing at a time. Pipelining is a technique of decomposing a sequential process into sub-processes, with each sub-process being executed in a special dedicated segment that operates concurrently with all other segments. Pipelining is widely used in modern processors. Pipelining improves system performance in terms of throughput. Pipeline organization requires sophisticated compilation techniques.
Alright. Okay, itu saja untuk note kita hari ini. Okay, so lepas ni kamu kena buat sedikit komen. Ini saya minta kamu komen sikit apa yang kamu fahami mengenai pipeline computer architecture ni. Okay, melalui video ataupun berdasarkan nota kelas kita tadi lah. Okay, saya boleh masukkan. Cuma nota kelas kita dah masuk sana, cuma saya sikit ada saya nak check balik, bukan nak check lah, ada untuk saya perbaiki sikit lah tadi tu. Okay, untuk kelas hari ni, kalau ada apa-apa nak tanya ataupun kalau kamu tak ada apa nak tanya sendiri personal dengan saya dalam WhatsApp pun boleh sampai tengah hari nanti. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan lah. Okay. Posisi ada masalah? Ada okey? Posisi okey? Alright. Okay. Posisi okey? Hari ni okey?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Jevina Rani okey? Okay. Katia Yani?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Katia Yani?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Khairin Irfan?
Okay, sir.
Alright. Carol Anwar? Carol Anwar okey?